And one more example, we have seen that how to send the data by using the hidden form field. This is only one example that we have seen. You can write as per your requirement in the application. So the meaning of the hidden form field is it will be the part of your request, but it will not visible to the user. So whenever user will send the request to the server, then it will be the part of request and that will be get on the server side. So very simple. You just need to create the input type as hidden. Just look at here. Input type. We will not write the input type text. We will write the input type hidden. And the thing we have already discussed is session. How to create the session and how to destroy the session. What are the values you can put into the session and what is the session ID? This session will persist, and you can say that the maintain till your browser is not getting close, or you are not request to the server to destroy it by calling the method invalidate that we have seen. Look at here, login. That where is logout? This one. So if you call the invalidate method, then this session will be destroyed, and whatever the value you have or user have in that session will be destroyed. Means you will never get those values. Another way is to make your HTTP session as stateful by using the cookies. So what are the cookies and how to use in the application? A very simple example I'm going to show you, and it is similar to your session, but it is the persistent um, session. So just look at here. Cookies. Cookie is a small piece of textual information is stored on the client computer which a web server can interact with. Okay, so a cookie is some textual information. You can say the text data that will be stored on the client machine. Okay, and some facts related to the cookies. The cookies is pure text information. Cookies sent with HTTP headers. The values which you have in the form of the cookie will be sent with the HTTP headers. Cookie has the restriction that number, size, domain, and path. So how many numbers of the cookies, what is the size, and what is the domain of that cookie, and what is the path of that cookie? It is the restriction. And uh, what do I mean to say with this is whenever any request is going from the browser, just look at here. Okay, so as I have already shown you that you can go into the setting and you can find the cookies list. So whenever you send any request, for example, if you type http:// and suppose you write http suppose hackerrank.com. Okay, so the cookies which is related to this URL will be go in your request. So only the related cookies that is saved in your system will be go in your request. So whatever the value you want to save and whatever the value you want to send from the server to the client, we will write the code accordingly that which type of the value should be saved here. You have seen that whenever we logged in, for example, if I log in into the Gmail, okay, so what happened, it will ask your username and password, and it will ask that do you want to save or do you want to remember your login credential on the system. And if you click on that checkbox, then next time when you will type that URL, it will never ask the username and the password. So what happened in that case, when you click on that checkbox, then server will create one cookie in which it will provide some encrypted data in the form of your username or password. Means it will have some value which will be stored into this uh, client. And when you write the same URL again, for example, the gmail.com, then it send your cookies with the request. And the value of the information, the information that is saved into your cookie, and it will extract first those information and it will logged in you automatically. It will not ask you again that what is your username and the password. So that page will look like that, username and password, and then there will be a checkbox that remember me. And if you don't mention that remember me, then you will see that every time whenever you open that website or that application, it will ask every time your username and password. Okay. So how to create the cookies and how to use in an application, I will take the same example and I will try to explain. Now look at the cookies life cycle. Okay, so this is your client, and whenever a client send a request, and the cookies creation will be on the server. And since we are the developer, so according to user's choice or the developer choice, we create the cookies. So it depends on the application nature. I will show you that in which application nature we will create the cookies. Okay, so this just take that example as that code as example, and you can implement in your application. So that code will be run on your server side. It will create the cookie, and after that it will send the value, that cookie, in the form of the response, and it will go onto the client machine, and it will save into the client machine. So response to set the cookies on your client machine. So you can have as many as number of cookies as per your requirement, and whenever you send any request further for any process onto the server, so it will carry those cookies into the HTTP header. So first you will get those cookies and extract those cookies from the request, and you can perform your logic. When your cookie will expire, suppose that cookie is stored in your client machine, so you can write the code accordingly. If I take the example of the Gmail, then you will see that if you perform the logout option, if you take the choose the logout option from um, Gmail application, then you will see that it will ask your username and password. So we can say that on the logout, we are destroying the cookies which holds the user's login credential. So whenever you send any request, then it will first ask your username and password, then you will get login. And you can decide also that that this cookie should be expire automatically after some period of the time. So that age you can decide, and you can set on the server and send to the client machine. So till that time, if you don't destroy that cookie, then client machine, your client machine will destroy that cookie, because you have set the time of that cookies. So here are some methods and the way that we can create the cookies. The cookie that we will create the type of class cookie, that is javax.servlet.http cookie. How to create the cookie? Very simple. Just create an object of this class cookie and new cookie. First you will pass the name by which you will identify the cookies and the value that you want to save on the client machine. And you can send any data that the preferable is the string and the textual information. So your data could be some uh, encrypted it also. Okay, so you can set the value. When you create the cookie, then you will set the age of that cookie, and the value you will pass will be in second. Response.add cookie, when you will write this code, then it means that you are sending the cookie to the client machine, because response will go to the client, so sending cookie to the client. And when you write these three lines, then you create a cookie and you send that value onto the client side. Further, when subsequent request is coming from your client side, then you can read the cookies by the method that is get cookies. And as I said, one application can have, just look at here, one application, in one application you can set multiple cookies. So that's why you will see here it uh, uh, the return type of this method is the array of cookies, and from this you can get the name and get the values, because every cookie will have the name and the value corresponding to it. You can say that this is a kind of map. Here is your key and here is the value. So you can get the key and you can get the values by using the name and the get value method. So when you call the method get name, you will get this cookie name. When you call the method get value, you will get the value. So let's make an example and to understand that how to create. So first I'll write only the thing by which we can create and save the cookies onto the client. So for that, what I'm going to do, this is the scenario, this is the example, just look at here, that we have created earlier. I'll modify it according to this requirement. So this is your index.jsp, okay, in which we have created a login form. Run. So when you execute this, okay, so you will see that it is asking your username and it asks your password, and after that you do the login, and it go on to the login validate servlet. Fine. And this is your login validate servlet, where your username and password will be get, perform the login validation. Accordingly, it will send you onto the home page, that is home.jsp. So I'm not going to create any session, that is HTTP session. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one cookie. If the username and password is correct, then I'll write that create a cookie javax.servlet.http. Okay, C is equal new cookie, and here you will write the cookie's name. So I will write my cookie. This is my cookie, and what are the value that you want to set into this cookie? You will write accordingly the textual information. So I'm going to put the username and password into it. Fine. This is my requirement. So I'm going to put the username plus password by the concatenation, that is user password. You can set the age of this cookie, that what is the time that it should be stored. So set max age, you can set here, and since it is in second, so you can pass 60 second into 60. sorry, 60 into max age 60 multiply by 60 multiply by 24. Okay, and I'm going to send this cookie to the user client machine. So response dot set cookie. Send. What is the name of that? That is add to this request. This one. Now it will go onto the home page, and here is the home.jsp. This piece of the code I'll delete. Okay, and delete this one. Max age also not required. I'll come home. This is the message. Okay, let's see what we get. Reload. Username is and password. Login. So you are now at home page. So let's open the settings, and we'll see that the cookie is saved or not. So you can go and open your cookies from here, cookie and site data, and here all the cookies and site data. And since it is working on the local host, so here is the local host, and here. So look at your application. That is, the name is session demo. Okay, so JSession my cookies. This is this you can see here. One cookie name is my cookie that we have created in our application. If I open it, then you can find that the name of the cookie is my cookie. What is the content of in this cookie? So admin and super. So what I I have put it into it. Just look at here. I'm putting the username and password separated by the colon. So you can find here the cookie is admin and super. Domain is the local host. Path is the session demo. Sent for any kind of the connection. Accessible to script, yes. Created on Monday, 3rd Feb 2020 at 8:24 p.m. and expires on Tuesday, February 4 2020 at 8:24. Why this time is mentioned here? Just look at here. I'm passing 60 into 60 into 24. It means 1 day. So if no further action is taken with this cookie, then it will destroy automatically on 5th of February. If I close this browser, then again there will be no changes into it, because this cookie will be persist on the system till February 4. Now whenever you send any request, further any request from here, then your my cookie will be going to every request. So if you want to check, so here is one link that we were using in the previous session, that is show all user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that how to get the values if this cookie is saved on your system. Show all user record servlet. This was your servlet. So what I'm going to do here, not HTTP session. So request dot get cookies. So get all the cookies, get cookies, and as we know that it can return more than one cookie. So first I'll create cookie C array is equal. Suppose there is no cookie, that situation comes can be come into your application. So it will be pointing to null. If it is if it doesn't record any then if it doesn't um, give you any response that these number of the cookies are coming from the request. Okay, so when it returns any value, then it will be created, otherwise it will be null. So what we do first of all, we check that if, okay, C is not equal to null. If C is not null, then we will perform the operation. Okay, or you can do one more thing, that is length. Okay, so you can count the length of array. So if it is not null, then we can perform the operation, and here we will get the value from this cookie, that is by using this array, this one. So one by one, you can get all the cookies from this array, and when it will return the first value, then you can print the value of name and the value that is associated with every cookies. So system dot out dot, sorry, I'll use out dot println, not system dot out dot name of cookie plus cookie dot get name, you can get, plus value that is associated with is, which is just plus cookie dot get value. Now click on it and we'll see that is there any cookie comes with the request or not. So show all users. Okay, so here you can find that the name of the cookie is JSession value. This is name of the cookie is my cookie value admin and super. Name of the cookie is this. Name of the cookie is, so you can find so many cookies which are related to your local host, because all the cookies are for the local host. So if you send any request and which is related to your particular domain, then you can find all the cookies in your application. So you can find, just look at here, this is your, these are the cookies, localhost 888, that is JSession ID, GA, XSRF. So there are so many cookies which is available for this domain, as you can find here. So which cookie you want in your application? Okay, here is this. So it will give you all the cookies, but I need the cookie which I have created for this application. So here I will write one piece of the code. If cookie dot get name dot equals to the my cookie. If I get this name, then I'll print the value. So if I execute this, then you can find that my cookie value is admin and super. So you can control your cookies according to the page, that which cookie you want to get. So definitely when you are writing the code and you are creating any cookies in your application, so you know what is the name of your cookie. So here, just look at this code. We know that the cookie name is my cookie. So I'll check if the cookie name is my cookie, then perform this operation. This is the way that we create any cookies in the application and send with the response. And if you want to get any cookies from the request, you can write this piece of the code. Yes, tell me. Any doubt? To create any cookie, to get any cookies from the request, and set the age, set the max age to make it persist. Yes, tell me. Any query? Okay. So one example I'm going to show you that we see in the most of the application. What is that? Just look at here. What we do here is you will see sometime input type checkbox, input type checkbox, value is remember, and name is RM. I'm writing the name as RM, and here I will write remember me. Now just look at this page that is index. So when a user will enter the username and the password, and if it says that remember me, then the scenario is whenever user enter this URL, and if user has been remembered, then this page should not be come and should not be visible to the user. Okay, so this is the scenario. But when this page should not be appear to the client, when user will choose the option remember me. Okay, so according to this scenario, just look at here that what I'm going to write the code. This is your index page, this is your login servlet, and to set the cookie, I'll do this by using, still not coming. Okay, let me check. Okay, it's showing now it's coming. It's showing that network is perfect. Now it is coming. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just look at here. First, I'll get a string. RM is equal request dot get parameter, and the parameter name is RM. Look at here. This is the parameter name, and the value is remember. So if user will check this checkbox, then you will get the remember. Otherwise, you will not get the value. And the scenario which I was telling you that the username and password will not ask by the user if the user choose the option remember me. So what I'm going to do, if user is valid, then if rm, okay, if rm is not equal to null. So what is mean by rm is not equal to null? It means you are sending the value into the rm. Means you have selected the value, remember me. Fine. So if rm is not equal to null, it means you have chosen the value, the option that remember me. Then I'll create a cookie with the name of my cookie in which I'll pass the username and password. The maximum age will be 1 day, or you can define for 30 days or 1 month as per your requirement, and add to your response. If user doesn't opt this option, then we will not create any cookie and we will not set this cookie into the response. Only user will go in onto the home page. I hope this scenario is clear. And suppose after that, if this whole thing happen, okay, then if user again wants to access this index.jsp, then what is the requirement? This page should not be appear. This page should not be appear to the user, since the user is already logged in. So we'll perform, we will send the user onto the home page. So here I'm going to write again some piece of the Java code. So first we'll get all the cookies, request dot get cookies from here. And again, I'll do the same thing. So I'll copy and paste cookie if cookie is not null, and just look at here. Cookie C is equal. Okay, let me copy. Okay, find this one. Copy and paste. If C is not equal to null and the cookie name is my cookie, then I will not print right now. What I'll do, I'll validate the user by getting the username and password. So for that, I will put the value into the request dot set attribute, and the attribute name is username. I'll take which value I want to put into it. I will put the value of cookie dot get name, this value. Another value I will put here, request dot get attribute, sorry, set attribute, that is the user password, and I'll pass this cookie dot get value. Okay, this is not required, I guess, because the name we have already get, that the cookie name in my cookie. A string s is equal cookie dot get value dot split on the basis of colon. This is my expression, and username, let me write first, then s0, copy paste user password, and s1. Just look at here what what I'm doing into it, this into it. Uh, I'm getting the cookie from the request. Then I'm checking that if cookie is not null, it means I have the cookie in this array. And after that, I'll iterate cookie one by one, and I will try to get the cookie in which I have the username and password. So since the code is written by me and I know that in which cookie I have put it, the value of the username and password, then look at here, the cookie dot get name dot equals my cookie. If this cookie is found, then first of all, I'll split it. Why I'm going to split it? Because I have created the cookie and put the value by the colon separation. So first of all, since this is one value, so I need to extract the username and password one by one. So I'll do with this separation of colon. So I will use the split on the basis of colon. So it will give me an array with the size 2. One is before the colon and second one is your after the colon. So S0 will carry the name and S1 will carry the user password. Okay. Why I'm writing this, I will tell you, but just look at here that what I'm going to do. Now I will write or I can do one more thing, that is request dispatcher come on, request, why it is not coming, request, yes, now fine. Request dot get request dispatcher, and I'll send it to some other resource dot forward. Fine. I'll send these values to one more servlet which will perform the validation of the username and password. And if it is fine, then it will go into the home page. So this will happen in the background. So for that I will do, and I'll create one more cookie here, that is servlet, and I'll create the servlet that is cookie validate servlet. It will validate the cookie's value. Next, finish, and here I will pass to the cookie validate servlet. So now what happened in this case, your username and your password will be set into the request. When this request will forward to the cookie validate servlet, these value will be available onto this servlet. So we can get these values, and how to get, we know that request dot get attribute. By attribute we can get the value, that is username. Request dot get attribute, and attribute name is user password, and every value will store into the string username. Okay, and we'll perform the typecasting. A string user password, and again, since it is object return, so we'll convert it. So now we have the string username and the password which is coming from the user request, which is available into your cookie. Now we perform the validation, and to validate this we have already the code. I'll do the copy and paste. And connection prepared SQL query rs.next. Paste. And after try, I will write the catch also so that the exception can be handled. So select asterisk from the username. Okay, let me change the variable name. So this is the validation code. Just look at here. This is the validation code in which user will validate. Why I am writing the validation code? You may ask that, sir, if the username and password is saved in your cookie, then why you are again doing the validation of those values? Since these values, just look at here, these values are saved on your machine. So anyone can change or anyone can access the value since it is on your client machine. So it can append the data, it can change the data. So if I'm getting the username and password which I have saved in my cookie, so first of all, I'll validate the data. Okay, so for that I'm writing the validation code. If the username and password is correct, that I have saved in my cookie, it is coming same as in the form of the request, then I can write the code. So, okay, user password, I guess. Yes, password. This was username and user password. So if user is validate, then I will do this response dot send a redirect to the home page, home.jsp, welcome. And suppose the data gets changed, then what happened? Else, I will do one more thing. I will create the cookie this c is equal new cookie with the name my cookie, the same as I have, with none value, c dot set max age, okay, as 1 second, it should be destroyed, and a response dot add cookie and response dot send a redirect to index page. So as you will send your response to the client, then your cookie will be destroyed and you will not get the value into it, and this will be destroyed according to your requirement. Now come to this part. Now if I reload it, then you can see here that it is not asking the username and password. So whenever, suppose if I write this index.jsp, look at here, index.jsp, this is the login page, I'm copying it, and if I try to open the login page, it is not getting open. Why? Because I have written the code like, if you get the name of my cookie, then you split it with the colon, then send the username and password, and after that validate it. If the username and password is correct, then go to the home page. Otherwise, you don't need to go. So with this client, since I have saved the data on this client, so on this client, the login page will not open. If I open this client and if I open the same, then it will say, okay, tell me your username and password. If I write the username and password, just look at here, And if I do not choose the remember me, just look at here, login. And again, if I try to open the index.jsp, then you can see that index.jsp gets open. But what if I do this? Admin, sorry, this is the admin, and this is the password. I choose the remember me and then login. Now I'm trying to open the index.jsp. Just look at here. And if I hit the enter, then you will find that now the login is not coming. So you have experienced this kind of a thing with the application that whenever um, you open any application in which the remember me option you have chosen as ticked, then you will see that it will redirect you to the home page. It will not ask the login credentials. So this is the way that you can do the things by using cookies. Only few methods are in cookies. That is the get value, set get name, set max age, uh, cookie creation, the value you want to put, and the max age that you want to set at the client side. Yes, tell me. I hope the cookie is clear. Next is, and we have learned already the session. So it is not required to discuss the session API one more time. Session cookies we have already seen, that is J session ID. It is not persistent because when you close the your browser, it will get destroyed. Next one is called, which I want to discuss with you, that is, where is that filter? Servlet filters. What is the filter and what is the servlet filter? Just look at here. The filters introduced in 2.3 specification of the servlet, and it is the reusable Java classes which can perform and transform your HTTP requests before they reach their destination. And you can configure this filter as a chain. Uh, the filter will look like this. Just look at here. This is your servlet for which you want you send a request, or this is the servlet for which user sends a request. So this servlet can perform so many tasks. We have already seen that this can get the request from the user and it can perform the operation. If you want that before reaching at this location, at this servlet, some operations should be filtered before it. Okay. The main theme is, yes, we will send the request to the servlet. This is the destination. This is your client. It will send a request for this servlet. But what we do, we write some piece of the code between your client and your servlet, and we put those things between client and servlet. That is the filter. And what we do, we write some filter code here, and after filtration, it will forward your request to the servlet. And you can handle some more stuff over here. If you think that the data that is coming from the request is not perfect according to the servlet requirement, okay? So which type of the value you want to pass into the servlet, you can write the code over here. And if you think that this value should be coming, should come at this format from the client, and if it is not coming, then you can send the response from here. The request will not reach at the servlet side. So in this case, what happened? Your servlet will not get burden to do all the things. So this is the filter. Okay. So before reaching at the destination, we can perform some extra uh, um, we can write some extra code to perform some specific type of the task. This is the way that we use the filters. If you have a filter in your home, the water filter, so what it does, what it perform, what is the operation of that water filter? Before giving you, before reaching the water at your glass, it performs some additional tasks like filter it in the germs, it will add some minerals in your water. So the water is your request and your glass is the your destination. But before reaching at your glass, the water filter will perform some additional task. So in the same way, you can do this with your application also. So how to do this in application? It is very simple and very small piece of the configuration you just need to know. So what we can do with the filter, we can do the authentication, logging and auditing, data compression, encryption, decryption, XML transformation, localization. So these are the things, and these are the examples. But how to do and how to use the filter in application? Just look at here. In filter, like servlet, filter is an interface, and it has also life cycle like your filter. As we know that servlet has three important method in its life cycle, that is init, service, and destroy. So yes, filter also has three methods for the life cycle, that is init, and that is for the filter configuration. That is another one is destroy, and as we have a method in servlet that is called service. So here we have a method that is called do filter, and here you will find that it has three parameters. One is servlet request. So yes, servlet request type of the request that comes from the user, you can get the values. Servlet response. Filter chain, you can make a chain of the filter by using this filter chain. So I'm going to create a very simple example and I will perform some operation onto the filter. Then after that, it will move to your destination. So these are the methods declared in deployment descriptor associated with the servlet or the URL pattern. What is this? We'll see with the example. Container instantiate single instance like servlets. Container calls init method. Yes, as like the servlets in init method is called by your container. So filters init method is also called by your container. Filter serves incoming request through the do filter, and it contains container unload the filter by calling the destroy method. Using the filter by this method, just look at here what we are going to do and how to write the code. In do filter, be sure to call the chain.do filter to call the next filter in the chain. If you have any, suppose if you want to put more than one filter before reaching your request at the specific servlet, then you can call you will have to call the method chain.do filter. Otherwise, it will not perform the chaining. In deployment descriptor, declare filter and filter mapping, just like the servlet and servlet mapping. The request and response are arguments, can add parameters, modify request. So just look at here. In do filter, the servlet request and the servlet response are as parameter. So you can get the value from the request and you can add the value into the request and response by using this do filter method. So let's see and make a filter in application. So for that, what I'm going to do, I will create a fresh application, new project to understand the filter, Java web application next, and I will write the application as filter demo. Next, I will do this by creating some filtration. So now I'm not going to write the login authentication because so many times I have written the same code. What I'll do, very simple thing. I'm going to take one input from the user, and input I'll take into input type dot text, that is text, name will be name, and after that br, and then input type, that is submit. Let's execute this. Okay, browser, let me change, run. So here you can see the hello world and one input type value, and you can submit the value. Whatever the value you have onto this page, you want to perform and you want to send the request, and you want to send the request on the particular servlet. And the servlet is this. And I will write the servlet name is my servlet. Finish. So this is your servlet where I will send a request. Now what I'm going to do, I can get the value from the request by using the request object. And we have already done so many times this kind of the thing. So request dot get parameter. What is the parameter name? Parameter name is name. And I will store into the string, print the value of this variable. Yes. Very simple example. I will write prowess apps.in. Just look at it. This is the value that I am trying to send, and when I hit okay, what I miss, I guess the action, not character. Action is my servlet. This is prowess apps.in. So look at here. We are getting the value onto the servlet, that is my servlet, and the value is prowess apps. So this is the source, this is the destination. What I'm trying to do is, if any request is coming from the index.jsp, it should first go onto this filter. Some operation should be performed on that filter, and after that it should be reached at the servlet. So it means I will create a filter which will be between your request and your destination. And which type of the operation I want to perform? Whenever any value, just look at here, whenever any value that is passed into the text box, when it reach at this filter, sorry, servlet, then it should be capitalized. Okay, it should be capitalized. So you can say, sir, we can do the same thing by calling the method capitalized. Okay, so you can do the operation over here, but what I'm trying to explain is the operation can be performed by the filter and before reaching at your destination. So look at here, I'm going to create one filter in application, and from here I will go to the others, then I will choose the filter. Next, I will write the name as first filter. Into the same package I can write, no problem at all. Next, and the filter that you are creating, for which type of the URL it should be work. This is the new window it will ask. So if you write that it is applies to slash and asterisk, it means whenever you send any request to any kind of the resource, it will be applied to that resource. So I want to apply on only this servlet, that is my servlet. So I'll edit it, and I will choose the servlet that is my servlet. That's apply the servlet, or sorry, this filter onto this servlet. And what are the type of the dispatcher? Means whenever you will move from here, from this filter, then and it should be execute, then I'll choose the for filter. I'll explain these four, just wait. So I'll choose the for one and click on the next and finish. Just look at the filter code that is generated by your IDE. So there are so many lines of the code that is not required by me. I delete these code, delete. These methods are not required. I'll make it small. This one. Fine. Now look at the methods. Destroy method and your init. This. So as I said, and as I have already shown you, that there are three methods in the filter interface. So you need to implement these methods in your class. Fine. So one method is do filter, second one is your destroy, and third one is your init. So main operation is done by your do filter. Init and destroy we have already seen in servlet. So the same thing you will find into your filter. What I have done when I was creating this filter, I have configured this filter that it is applicable for the my servlet. And where you will find that this filter is applicable for the my servlet, just go and check your configuration file. Look at here. Web.inf, web.xml, this one. And filter mapping, where is that? Okay, just look at here. This is your filter, that is first filter, and the class name is first filter. And filter mapping says that this filter is mapping for first servlet. Okay, that is my servlet. So just look at here. This is the my servlet name, and here is the name of the my servlet. With respect of this class will execute. So filter name is first filter that is mapped with my servlet. So you can find that which filter is configured for which type of the servlet. So this is your configuration. So it means whenever you send any request for the my servlet, first of all, it will go on to the first filter, and after that it will reach at the servlet. So if I reload it, then you can find now that it throws an exception, that is null pointer exception. And what is the root cause? Because this do filter we are using, so we need to forward the request from here to the my servlet. So we can do this by calling chain dot do filter. Now let's see, still we are getting the same error. Okay, request dot get parameter name, fine. First filter, that is your do filter. Okay, on index.jsp I'm getting error. This. And if I set the value prowess apps, fine. So now my request is going from index.jsp to my servlet via first filter. So I'll do some additional task here. So what was the requirement of this filter? The requirement of this filter was request dot get parameter, the name, the value which is going to this servlet. First of all, I'll get that value onto my filter and perform some filtration here. So a string s is equal to s dot to uppercase. I'll change into the uppercase, means I'm performing some filtration or I'm performing some additional task. I can write like this. And after that, when I perform this operation, I'll forward this value to my servlet. So how can we do this? Because it is inter-server communication. So I'll do request dot set attribute, and here the username that after performing of filtration, I'll set to the request, and then it will forward to the next my servlet. And now, since the value which is coming from the first servlet is setting into the request dot set attribute, so definitely we will write the get attribute, not get parameter. And here is your type of a string. Now run this code, and first I'll check that what is okay. Username is the name, and attribute is username. Reload, pass the value, submit. Then you can find that it is now going as the capital. Look at this URL. My servlet is your destination. The value that you are passing into the name is in mixed case, but the value you are getting at my servlet is in uppercase. So who is performing this operation? This operation is done by your filter. Okay. So you can put the filters between your request, means the client, and the destination where you want to send, and where you want to commit your request. So this is the way that we use filter in application. So this is the small piece of the code where I'm writing that I'm performing the operation to convert into the uppercase. You can perform any kind of the operation by this filter. You can do the authentication over here, and after that you can send to any other resource, and this can be done by your filter. So the whole thing is behind the scene, because you are sending the request from this page for the my servlet, but before reaching your request at the end, that is my servlet, it goes via first filter. So this is the filter, and when you will learn struts, struts is a framework. If you learn the struts 2.0, then you will find that everything and the maximum thing are filter in struts. So now you can you configure the filters, and can you write the code according to the filter, because all the things which we have done previously was doing by your servlet, but now we have a additional member that can perform some operation, and uh, it can perform the task which we were trying to do with the servlet. So it makes your servlet uh, low weight, means suppose this servlet performs so many things, like getting the value, then after that validation, after validation it performs some addition of the task, and means there are so many operations, there are so many tasks which were doing by your servlet. So if you have thousands of the user, okay, so all the tasks will be done by your servlet, this one. So this will feel that this servlet will feel a very heavy load to perform the task. So what we can do, we can segregate the task to different filters that perform this operation by this filter, and after that perform another operation by another filter, and when all the operation get performed by your filter, then reach at my servlet. So we can segregate, means we can distribute the task different tasks to the filter to perform, and after that reach at the my servlet at a complete result. Yes, tell me. So is it clear? Okay, fine. Okay, now come to this example one more time. Just come to the configuration, that is web.xml. I hope this tag is clear. That is what is filter. So one is your filter name, that is internal aliasing, and with this name, the first filter will execute. For which type of the servlet I want to use this filter? So I want to use this filter for my servlet. Okay, this is the my servlet class. So I want to use this filter for the my class as my servlet. And as we know that we can send the request to any servlet by using the request. Okay, by using request means, just look at here I am at index.jsp. So I can send the request from here for the servlet. So this kind of request is called request. This kind of the request is called request. Another way to send the request for this servlet is from any other servlet by using request dispatcher. Okay, by using the request dispatcher we can go at this servlet. Another way, so that request dispatcher has two methods. One is called forward and second one is your include. So if your request is coming in the form of forward or include, then it should be applicable. So in configuration I have written that if the dispatcher is the type of the request, if dispatcher is the type of the forward, if dispatcher is the type of include, or dispatcher is the type of the error, so any kind of the dispatcher for this servlet, then filter will be applicable. Let me show you this one. If I delete this, it means this filter is applicable for the my servlet if dispatcher is forward, include, and error. Okay, so now if I do this, then you can see that we are getting null value. Why? Because we are sending the request to the my servlet by using the request, and we haven't configured the dispatcher type of request. So if we configure this, then now this filter is applicable on my servlet on request also. Just look at here. Now if I do this, then you can find it is working. Fine. So if you want that this filter should be applicable only for the request, then you can write only request. If you want that this should work on only forward type of the dispatcher, then you can write only forward. And if you think that all type of the request dispatcher, if we perform for this my servlet, then filter will be applicable, then you can write all type of dispatcher. Just tell me, is it clear? Good. So this is all about your filter that you can apply on your request and you can perform the operation.